Major support for these broadcasts is provided by Bank of America Merrill Lynch and Perfect Building Maintenance, New York Community Bank, Kilroy Architectural Windows, New York's Window Company, Greenberg Traurig, LLP, M&T Bank. Additional support is provided by AVR Realty Company, LLC, All Nation Renovation, Bingham McCutcheon, LLP, Briarwood Organization, Bruce Mosler, Capital One Bank, Cassidy Turley, C.B. Richard Ellis, James Orphanides, Centurion Holdings, Chelsea Lighting, Cushman and Wakefield, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Douglaston Development, DDG Partners, Hal Fettner, Durst Fettner Residential, Friedman LLP, Accountants and Advisors, Gemini Real Estate Advisors, LLC, Genova, Burns and Gian Tomasi, Investors Bank, Jack Jaffa and Associates, Real Estate Consultants, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Corman Communities, Madison Realty Capital, Margolin Weiner and Evans, LLP, Certified Public Accountants and Business Advisors, Massey Knackle Realty Services, Meridian Capital Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Site Comply, Sterling and Sterling, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, the Wickoff Group, Urban American, Ackman Ziff Real Estate, Eastern Consolidated, Goldman Properties, the Moynihan Group, Muss Development, RAL Development Services, the Spandrel Group, LLC, Triangle Equities.
They call it New Jersey. They call it the Garden State. But it looks like the things are really getting brighter in New Jersey. So today, I have 4 individuals to provide their views on what's happening in the state of New Jersey. My guest today includes Emmanuel Stern, who is the president and COO of Harts Mountain Industries, Michael Sieve, who is president and COO of Mountain Development, Carl Goldberg, who is managing principal at Roseland Property Company, and last but not least, Alan Goldman, who is president of SJP Residential. So, Emmanuel, you and your family have been involved with the state of New Jersey probably close to 50 years?
Getting there.
So, how do you look at it? You've been on my show a number of times, and it seems that with a conversation prior to the show, things are looking much brighter in the state. What's happening?
I think we've had a tremendous year. In the commercial market, it's been the best year in a number of years. The industrial submarket we've had our best absolute leasing year, or one of the best years, certainly the best year in the last 5, and arguably we've leased almost 5 million square feet this year.
Now, what has also happened in the state of New Jersey this year is that, especially with one of your properties, and they've sold properties, office properties, for the highest recorded price ever in Jersey City and other parts. What do you attribute that to?
I think that's endemic in where we are in the real estate market with good assets and cap rates and values. And what I think you've seen in real estate assets in the last couple of years is, there's a large gap between what are perceived as good investment properties and the rest. And if you can be what's considered core properties, and you're well leased, and there's attractive capital for you.
Now, Carl, you guys are, and in partnership with Manny and certain other things, you've been so involved with the residential development in New Jersey. You just broke ground in Weehawken. Yes. And you even said to me before, which is something unusual for the state of New Jersey, that you're building for sale.
That's correct.
So tell us what's going on.
Well, I think, developers continue to go back and invest in the urban core, and especially those assets that are adjacent to mass transportation. And clearly the rental market is on fire, but with the right geography, the right location, especially adjacency to the Hudson River waterfront, there are for sale communities that continue to thrive, and there is a demand for sale housing. But I think it's important to be able to build rental and for sale concurrent so that you can absorb into separate market niches at the same time.
So here's the question. You know, we were talking, you also with Milstein's built in Battery Park City
Correct.
recently. What is the differential with regard to rents when you're in New Jersey as opposed to Manhattan?
The highest tier properties in New Jersey will rent in the low $40 per square foot range. Harts Mountain and Roseland are partners in a building that opened up in Jersey City, the Towers at Monaco, in May of 2011, and we're leasing apartments there for $43 a square foot. But comparable product in Manhattan would still rent for $75 to $80 a square foot. So there's maybe 55 to 60% of Manhattan rents for a comparable product in New Jersey. So people can make a price decision, still have mass transportation facilities to commute to their jobs in New York, and you see especially the Hudson River waterfront operating as if it were the sixth borough of Manhattan.
So here's the question. And Alan, you're going to be building in Fort Lee, and you know Manny has a major amount of property in the Secaucus area. Do you see many of the people who are working and living in New Jersey and also living in New Jersey coming to New York City? Are those the people you think are going to be renting in your building? Are those the people renting in your properties? I mean, how many people what percentage are people who live and work in New Jersey as opposed to commute into New York City?
In our property, Port Imperial, which folds over into West New York and Weehawken, which is immediately adjacent to the ferry, we've done a survey, and about 65 to 70% of our residents work in Manhattan.
And that's Port Imperial. At the Monaco, you think the number would be
Comparable.
comparable?
Absolutely comparable. Maybe even slightly higher.
Whereas in Fort Lee, it's a different profile in terms of the demographics and where people work. We believe a larger percentage do work in New Jersey. They commute by car. They do go over the bridge. Some come into Manhattan. Some go up to Yonkers or Southern Connecticut.
Let's talk a bit about this. This is probably one of the finest sites in New Jersey that's been vacant for what, 45 years? I mean, 40, close to 50 years. It was called the Hemsley site. So what are you doing there?
We are building on nearly 8 acres, 2 47-story glass towers.
Now,
Immediately,
do they have 51-story in his?
I think he has 50 stories.
50-story, you know, you're trying to compete, you know?
No competition.
Okay.
Ours will be truly
Iconic
buildings.
Okay.
They will each contain 450 rental units. They'll have the kind of finishes, amenities, and services that are really attracting people to the rental market, just as Roseland has done in terms of recognizing that people's perceptions of what their needs are have really changed throughout the country and certainly here in the Northeast. People who may have considered purchasing are now looking at rentals not as a second decision that they make, as a primary decision. They want to rent. Why? Obviously, the old adage of, you know, buying a home is your best investment has been totally shattered. But the fact is the product availability has really improved so dramatically that rental property is very much like a condominium product today. And what you get as a renter is flexibility, liquidity, and mobility. People recognize that when they buy, they have to think about how they're going to consider their next step and whether or not they're going to be able to sell.
Here's a question. You know, you're talking about rental. Mostly the properties that Emmanuel's taking care of and what Carl are doing are rental, but you're also building for sale. Why are you building for sale, and why aren't you building for sale in one of the towers?
Well, I have to say, for sale component of our total portfolio is relatively modest. I just think it's important to still give people a choice, but I think Alan is correct. We're living in a society right now where people are renters by choice. They're being driven to highly amenitized buildings, and what Alan was alluding to is the quality of life that you can create at these high-end rental communities with all the amenities and lifestyle components that are offered are very desirable for people who need the mobility, the liquidity, and as I think very well said. And I think you see people in the United States moving more to a European-style model of living in our urban core. In the major cities of Europe, all the urban core properties are populated by very high-end demographic families who are looking to live in the inner city and are happy to be renters for the entirety of their life.
So, mountain development you own, office buildings you own, some retail. Have you ever decided to go into the residential business to compete with these? Not to compete, they're all friendly guys.
Right. We haven't. We don't have the wherewithal to compete with these guys. But I was going to say, if you were going to draw a theme, a big part of our business has been acquiring surplus corporate property, which in a sort of a strained kind of way is a similar theme, where companies have decided they don't wish to own real property, or their needs change over time and they don't want to be burdened by assets that may have served a need 15, 10, 20 years ago. And it creates opportunities for, for people like us, developer types, to take those assets, ideally acquire them at a price that gives us a lot of optionality, and and then repurpose them for new needs. We're buying a big vacant office building now on just that sort of basis. We've done a lot of data centers, which we think is a great kind of repurposing thing.
Now, data centers have become a big item. Why have they become a big item in the state of New Jersey?
I think in part it's because the the electric infrastructure in the state, in the northern part of the state, is so great. I think you see the data centers follow the utilities with the greatest reliability. Con Ed, CoMed, PSE&G. I think those are sort of marketplaces where you can really serve customers the way they want to be served.
Now, didn't you put solar on many of your roofs?
We've had a very, very substantial solar program, taking advantage of the SREC program in the state, which has had a rough year. But that being said, we're very happy. We've put about 8.5 megs on rooftops, and we are putting the finishing touches this week, next week, on a 8 meg ground-based facility in Hamilton, New Jersey, on 65 acres of panels.
So here's the question. Besides, the residential really sounds very strong, especially if it's near mass transportation. I mean, that's the key over here. How is the office market doing? You own office property, and on the other side of SJP Properties, the office market. How do you see the office market in New Jersey today?
We've had a steady improvement in the office market fundamentals in the last year, a steady. That being said, I think New Jersey is still not in need of any real amount of inventory. They're still, on a statewide basis, you were commenting on a relatively large vacancy factor up in the northern part, and obviously in certain submarkets it's much more competitive than that, but still, I don't think you're going to see wholesale inventory being built in office product in the state of New Jersey, with the exception of particular site-specific
we certainly are going to be breaking ground next year on 2 major office projects.
My last comment was site-specific.
Yeah, site-specific. The U.S. headquarters for Panasonic, 335,000 feet in Newark, and certainly it says a lot about Newark and the opportunity to build something that's near a terrific transit center in terms of mass transit as well as the airport. We'll also be breaking ground next year on 525,000 foot building in Hoboken on our Block B, next to our other 2 very successful buildings. So we see opportunities that are, yes, site-specific, specific to a particular requirement. We're past even in residential condominiums that you're going to build and they'll come. You really have to recognize that specific need before anyone's putting a shovel
I think
in
it
the ground.
relates to Manny's comment just before, that nobody's building a spec office building in the state of New Jersey today, especially with a 24% statewide vacancy situation. But prior to the show, I was talking to Carl, and we were talking about certain cities. Weehawken is where you just broke ground.
Right.
West New York is another market over here. Fort Lee is another area. Hoboken, Newark for these office buildings. But why hasn't city like Newark, with a great infrastructure, with a train, with everything, really had any residential development? Carl?
I think there's a variety of factors. The first, we still don't have an intelligent policy in New Jersey towards eminent domain. So the assemblage of properties in certain municipalities, Newark being one of them, can be very difficult. And also in Newark, without subsidies, you cannot get a rent level yet that's sufficient to amortize the cost of construction and to build the required parking. So there's a nexus between the kind of building that you want to build. So for example, if you're going to build a high-rise building in the state of New Jersey, especially in Newark, which is likely a union market condition, you have to be able to get rents in the $32 to $35 square foot range minimum to rationalize that construction cost. You can't do that yet in Newark.
Right, and you can go to one of Michael's buildings or even one of Manny's buildings in different parts of the state. I mean, Secaucus or in Patterson or whatever over there, and pay $25 a square foot, right?
I think Newark's, listen,
$24.50.
I've said for years, Newark has obviously all the nexus of criteria to be a great city, and it has the infrastructure, and it has the cultural trophy assets, and it has the central business district for the most part. What it doesn't have is a vibrant residential kind of neighborhood, and it needs like a neighborhood doctor to sort of help create, and listen, the cultural trophy assets sort of do it, but at the end of the day, it's housing stock.
I mean, you have a
Newark
great
needs
new,
housing stock.
you have a great new arena.
Newark needs
I
good
mean, you have all this. But here's a comment that I made, I think, about a year ago with regard to Newark and what happened, during the Giuliani administration in Lower Manhattan. Both cities, Lower Manhattan, which has the same problem today, and Newark, has these office buildings which are really obsolete. And these office buildings that are obsolete in Lower Manhattan, during the Giuliani administration, there was something called the 421G, which was a full tax abatement to change these buildings to residential. Do you think that would help push certain changes in the city of Newark?
I think it would, but I think, as Manny alluded to, it's much more about creating a critical mass of mixed-use development that animates the street and brings people back to the city in a meaningful way. So the problem with the central business district right now, where people are there from 8 in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening, but they're not there before that, and they're certainly not there after that. And so, Newark, when we were younger, was the vibrant retail center for northern New Jersey. It's not that any longer. It has to recapture that retail element and be able to, and maybe it's subsidies, maybe it's helping developers create a capital stack that allows that to be affordable, but there has to be genuine mixed-use communities that include both retail and residential in order to create the kind of street life that generates quality of life that will attract families back to New York.
Well, I agree with Carl, and incentives are what are going to really allow for the development of product in Newark of the type that will generate activity beyond the 8 to 6 time frame. And like many other areas of the country which needed redevelopment, strong incentives are going to have a significant beneficial effect over the long term.
And certainly abatements are one of them.
So you bring up retail. You have how much retail in the state?
A couple million square feet.
How is the retail market in New Jersey? Especially, I don't know what they're calling it this week. It was called Xanadu. Now they're changing the name. I mean, you have this.
I'm not sure that's part of the retail market. But the retail market right now for in normal strip centers, community centers, it's bumping along.
It's bumping along.
Product is getting built. Product is not getting built. Retailers who decide to put their feet in the submarket have options.
Now, with regard to the retail market, I've noticed a lot of redevelopment on the Paramus corridor, the Bergen County, Fairway and other things going on. Who are the customers in your retail? Are they, we were joking before, and we'll bring it up about casinos and all. Who are the customers? Are they people from the state of New Jersey, or are they people from New York who run to New Jersey because they'd be able to save the sales tax?
Well, what you just referred is really not I'm not that familiar with the retail sub-market of Bergen County, and that's what you're getting at.
I'm talking Secaucus, really.
Oh, Secaucus. Our customers are not, we have a very successful Walmart and Sam's in Secaucus, And while they do get some Manhattan traffic, the bulk of their business is from the Secaucus density of West New York and Weehawken.
Michael?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why so many people came into New Jersey on the retail side originally is it's just an exceptionally affluent market, and it's an incredibly dense market. So, and akin to what everybody else does here, the approvals and the entitlement process in New Jersey can be challenging. So there are barriers, and I think Manny is correct. Right now is not the top of the cycle, but traditionally New Jersey's been a great retail market and totally organic.
We were talking a little bit before about the Racino, okay? They opened up an aqueduct, and it's doing, what, $1.5 million a day?
$15 million in the first 10 days, I read in the paper.
Okay, it's doing fantastic over there, and they haven't even opened everything. And Carl was bringing out before that in the Yonkers facility, most of the people come from New Jersey. Morris Bailey, other people have taken over the tracks. Jeff Gorell is taking over the Meadowlands. Do you see a onslaught of casinos or racinos in the state of New Jersey?
Well, I think it's inevitable that there's casino gaming at the Meadowlands Sports Complex. The demography demands it. Its adjacency to New York City demands it. And there was a $180 million rail link built from Penn Station to the Meadowlands Sports Complex just 3 or 4 years ago. And so the ability...
That's the only way you can go to a Jet game, because the traffic will kill you otherwise.
Right. I was chairman of the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority for 9 years, and there's no doubt that the future of the Meadowlands Sports Complex is contingent to a large degree on gaming coming to that facility. And if it does, it will be one of the most successful gaming facilities in the country. And it's inevitable for New Jersey. Manny and I have been talking about this for years. Dollars from New Jersey taxpayers are siphoned off to New York, to Delaware, to Pennsylvania, and it's imperative, as we deal with our own budgetary issues, to keep those dollars in the state of New Jersey. And gaming beyond the borders of Atlantic City is necessary, and as I suggested earlier, I think inevitable.
Now, when you're saying that gaming also creates other situations, Manny owns a couple of hotels near the city over here. If you have gaming, the hotels in New Jersey will do better.
Absolutely.
Okay? The retailer, it has an effect on everything. You'll be able to have the residential. You need more homes for people to live.
Yeah, when you think about what's going to happen in New Jersey in the next 3 or 4 years, we have two of the most preeminent international sporting events coming to New Jersey. We have the Super Bowl coming to the Meadowlands in February of 2014, and as was announced 2 or 3 weeks ago, we have the first Formula One race in the United States coming to the Hudson River waterfront in Weehawken in West New York in June of 2013.
And they're going to pass right in front of your building?
It's going to be, I don't know if people realize how big of a deal this is going to be and how big of a deal F1 is. And really, Roseland really did a tremendous job in convincing F1 with the municipalities that they could host the event there. And it's a 10-year contract.
It's a 10-year contract.
People aren't going to realize how big
now,
it is until after
is
the
this
first
a weekend?
year.
It's actually 3 days of racing, a practice run on Friday, time trials on Saturday, and the actual race on Sunday. So it's a modest level of disruption, but it brings a huge amount of money into the local economy. It will certainly benefit both the restaurant and hospitality industry. But as you suggested, it's part of the fabric of New Jersey, how it's becoming a place of destination. And so it's critical to the tourism industry. And I think it's consistent with what we're doing as we look forward to the Super Bowl in 2014.
Healthcare. Healthcare in New Jersey is growing. What have you been doing?
We did a big healthcare project. We did, I think, the largest private multidisciplinary healthcare venture. We did it in Union County in Berkeley Heights. It's like a lot of other businesses. It's changing rapidly. The model of patient care, the consultative nature of different disciplines, and obviously being cost effective. I think in a lot of cases doing, out of hospital care. So there's a lot of opportunities in healthcare, and I think it's, like data centers, it's a bright spot that's really moving a lot of space in a different direction. And And it's needed. You know, you can't, healthcare's like a lot of other things. You can't use space the way you did 30 years ago. It needs to be updated, you know, and adapted.
Suburban communities, Morristown.
Well, Morristown has developed its own cachet and reputation, but you're seeing that a lot of, and it's interesting, are these really suburban communities, or are they developing an urban character of their own, despite the fact that they're not as proximate to Manhattan? And I think Morristown is a perfect example of how those communities can continue to develop. We've built 3 projects in Morristown in the last 3 or 4 years. They're successful beyond our most optimistic expectations. They're bringing restaurants and new retail life, and it's not dissimilar to what we talked about in Newark, and it's changing the entire character of the municipality. Morristown has the most vibrant downtown center now in Western New Jersey. For example, they just opened a Roots restaurant in our building at 40 Park, one of the finest steakhouses in New Jersey. A second restaurant came in immediately thereafter. And Morristown is a perfect example of how these traditional suburban communities that have an urban character to them can redevelop their downtown areas.
And that was, I couldn't have said it better, but the idea of, to me, when suburban and Morristown came out in the same sentence from your mouth, I reacted, because I view now Morristown as this urban enclave within a greater suburbia New Jersey, and the place besides the big city really where 20-something New Jerseyans want to live. I mean, right? The amount of people in Morristown who are under the age of 30 is a stunning number.
What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think, firstly, you can commute to New York City surprisingly easily. And as Manny suggested, this juxtaposition of both retail and quality residential communities creates a lifestyle component that are drawing these people. So it's not dissimilar to Hoboken 15 or 20 years ago. It's just how these kind of urban centers develop, and it's all about creating critical mass. Morristown, under its current administration, was very proactive in drawing private sector investment into the city.
I wish we had more time, but 30 minutes is not appropriate to talk about New Jersey. So hopefully in the new year, we will discuss it again and bring you back. I'd like to thank Emmanuel Stern, Michael Sieve, Carl Goldberg, and last but not least, Alan Goldman. See you next week.